welcome back to Into the Veil. I'm Rachel, and kind of been led to an old spot for us, one of our original finds out here. But the week's been a little weird in getting downloads. Yesterday I was finding a connection of all things between apples and pears, and it was really, it felt like their love for apples went way beyond the fruit. And I think there's a lot of historical value in apples and pears, but what I did remember was when you cut them a certain way, you can see a star in the middle of either one. And in the center are the seeds that are encased by a really thick membrane. And for some reason they were trying to make a connection to all of us through this. And then when we came out today, I was really drawn to this spot. When we originally found it, there was a vine, and we'll find a picture, but there was a vine all the way around it, and it was tied with bark. But it didn't really feel like an active spot, and we kind of left it. Shortly after, this Union Jack came into play, and it felt like Uncle or Big Daddy had done that. And then, what's it been, 3 to 4 months ago, maybe 3 months, this triangle came up right in the middle with the big rock. And today, when we came out, I was feeling, when we walked up, I was hearing Stargate. And I had to really pause for a minute because, you know, we've experienced orbs and things like that, but we haven't really had what we would term an alien experience with these people, albeit we've gotten a very paranormal version of these people. And it feels like it's important for some reason for us to know their origins. The word nebula had come, and a lot of times a nebula is a burst on a star. So I'm just curious, is that right? Is this a Stargate in your interpretation? And they give me a yes. Who's with me, please? Maya? Zoran. I was feeling the female. Okay, hello, Zoran. So what they're showing me is they are very stellar. Yes. Zoran, is that what we would term alien or understand to be alien? She says no, not at all. There's nothing about them that's E.T. in the way that most of us get that picture, the little grays and all this stuff. But they are stellar in their connections. She says the heavens, and she mentions the triangle as being very significant. Is that where you come in from? So the arches are dimensional doors. Okay. There are portals. But this is special in that it connects them to home. She says home. And occasionally, not often, but occasionally, they use it. Occasionally, some of their people from there use it. And I hear the word council, like maybe for something like meetings or gatherings. But it's very significant in that it represents, there's something in that triangle. And triangle came up when we did the information back at the mound. Triangles are very important here. It's the perfect shape. And there's something stellar associated with a specific constellation. The rock, tell me, Zoran, what is the rock? The rock would be the center, that would be their sense of home. So when they focus on that center, it makes it very easy for them to access.
Well, you know, we've had several people ask about the different types, how some of them are like the teachers and things like we've encountered and experienced, and others are, you know, more vicious or aggressive or shy away from any kind of human. So maybe that's something to
I was feeling her close. So, yeah, she said there are a few types. How many main types, Zoran? 1, 2, 3. 3 main, but it even offshoots from that to, is it 5, 6 or 7 that are, they're not what they consider true Sasquatch in the sense of who they were created to be. They understand that technically they're part of the family. And it would not represent that one mind if they didn't accept that. And I'm going to step over here for a minute and finish this, because I'm starting to look like a drowned rat. And I don't want to focus on that. So she's saying these here are light, and the majority of the original Sasquatch are of light. They are light beings in the regard that they are here to bring information and to help us with our own ascension, our own transition to elevate. I'm still getting used to Zoran, and some of her verbiage is a little different, so if I start, that's why. She's saying there are, just like people, there are those that are what they consider to be fence riders, or middle of the road or not truly good or evil. They are undecided is a word that she gives me, as if they too have a certain process they're going through. Some of them have truly decided for light and love, but there are some that are, they'd rather be away from people and don't spend much of their time in anything high vibrational, but they aren't really trying to attack. And then she said there are those that are vicious, are residing without light, and she's explaining that evil or darkness is something that is like what we would equate to a disease. And you know that some of theirs too have been affected by such a low vibration, and she doesn't know if they will be allowed to come back home or not, or that they will traverse the veil,
if they're able to go back
travel,
and forth like these others do.
Yeah, they're much more physical because of their vibration. They are almost truly physical, and those are they're the ones that are much more night beings and are in the most remote of places. But given the opportunity, they use the infrasound, they use things they know they have the capability of, but they just aren't choosing for the capability of being the teachers and the guides and the light bearers.
It sounds to me, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but it sounds to me like these are possibly the ones that have had really negative encounters with people, and they've
She said absolutely.
Just let it eat them up like a cancer.
Yeah, she said absolutely, and some of that is historical in the way that we keep time. And there again, she explains it as with open DNA, even if they have not personally had an encounter currently, they have remembrance. They have remembrance of the feeling and the struggle, the conflict. Dare I say, a WAR.
You know, something that comes to mind when you're talking about that is that story about Ape Canyon, where they were prospecting and kept seeing glimpses and hearing them out in the woods around them, and eventually the one started shooting at one and hit it and wounded it, and I don't know if he killed that particular one according to the story, but
she said there have definitely been incidents, especially with guns involved, and that's part of why they are so adverse to guns, and it has to do with little ones. I see young ones being taken, and the pain of a mother is the pain of a mother. It doesn't matter. Oh, it doesn't matter.
I mean, if you put the shoe on the other foot and you were out in the woods watching somebody and they started taking pot shots at you and wounded you, you'd want to get your pound of flesh in return.
Yeah. And she said their nature is definitely that when they have fallen victim to certain mindsets and actions and ways of being. It goes way back, and it's not, she tries to explain it's not personal, it's rather animalistic when they're at that level. And yeah, so there are crossbreeds, and there are many that fall into gray, she calls it gray matter, gray territory, gray space. You know, it's not really something you could call good or bad.
It's something ambiguous.
Very. And she's she's saying something that people have difficulty with is that many of you, I'm going to come back around so you can see confirmation in this, because this is, you know, I get it, I give it. I don't have a preempt to anything, so we're going to see. She's saying that many of you that are here, if you feel it, speaking of which, have been, oh, okay, hang on, she's not giving me a yes or no yet. She knows I'm fringing on this thought. Help me out, Zoran. Your ancient history, your ancient lineage has been with many of these people. Somewhere in you is the remembrance of who they are. She's bringing up really ancient times. And she said, as matters of the soul, many of you she's giving me that many of us have an aspect of ourselves that is of these people. But it's an integrated, we are very human. Don't be human. She said be human. That's why you're here, is to be human. But what we need to understand is that it is, it's intended to allow us to moderate, to receive. It all gets into vibration. And for some, you already know this, she said. You wouldn't speak it. They understand. But denying it isn't going to change it. And she said that many of you have these beings close to your space, if only by way of energy, that would like to bond with you.
Sounds like she's trying to explain a kindred spirit or a spirit guide or a...
It's like, she gives me the word family, but it's different than being Sasquatch. It's different, yes. It's more like same purpose, same, she said, bearing light, bearing truth. She's giving me it's just a connection. It's a connection that enables them to work on this planet enables us to understand, if we're willing, and she's kind of cheeky. Yes. She said many of you are asking persistently within yourselves if they have knowledge of, reverence for, she said you call it God. It's that prime creative force that created the entire universe. In ancient days, they had different names for God. But understanding your concern, she said, absolutely, we honor a living creator, and that it's important for you to remember that you are seeds of a living creator. If you could get that, if you could really get that, what it means for you, your world would be so different, she says. But I think for the moment that's probably where we're going to stop, and we'll see if any more comes up about it. Certainly ask me your questions. If you're willing, like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.